I didn't mean to think it. I definitely didn't mean to remember it. But that's how the night began, with a thought I shouldn't have had, about a woman I shouldn't have wanted. She was leaning over the counter when I walked in, sleeves rolled to her elbows, hair loosely pinned like she'd stopped halfway through fixing it and forgotten to finish. A woman in her mid-40s shouldn't have looked that breathtaking doing nothing at all. Or maybe that's the point, she didn't look like she was trying to be anything. She simply was. "Thought you weren't coming tonight," she said, not looking at me right away. Her voice had that soft, velvet-worn tone, something shaped by time more than effort. "I wasn't," I answered, because I didn't have a better explanation. She finally looked up. There was a small pause, longer than necessary, shorter than safe. Her eyes dragged over my face like she was confirming something she had hoped wasn't true. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You always come back." I laughed once too quickly. "So do you." The room around us hummed with ordinary life, distant music from a speaker, a kettle cooling down, the muted tick of a wall clock, but none of it felt real. The only real thing was the space between us, and how dangerously small it felt. She stepped closer, just enough for me to feel the warmth radiating off her skin. If I moved an inch, our bodies would touch. And the fact that she didn't step back, that did something to me. "I shouldn't be this happy to see you," she said, almost whispering, then pretended she hadn't said it at all. She turned away too fast, reaching for a glass she didn't need to clean. I followed her without meaning to, leaning on the counter beside her. "You can be happy," I said, quieter than I meant to. Her hand stopped mid-motion. Just stopped. Like the sentence was something she didn't know how to hold. "I can be a lot of things," she said. "But not careless." She didn't look at me, but I saw her fingers tremble before she steadied them. I didn't touch her. I didn't dare, yet the urge crawled through my body like heat. "You think this is careless?" I asked. She hesitated, then nodded once. "We're not the same age. We're not in the same chapter of life. We're not even supposed to look at each other like this." She tried to laugh it off, but the sound broke halfway. Something old and tired lived inside it, something that belonged to regret more than fear. I wanted to say something smart or reassuring or mature, but nothing fit. So I did the only thing I could. I said her name. Softly. Like a confession. Her breath caught. She finally turned, and this time she didn't keep distance. Her fingers brushed mine, barely a touch, barely anything, but my entire body reacted. She must have felt it too, because her eyes widened a fraction, as if the air had just changed temperature. "If I kiss you," she said, voice trembling just enough to betray her, "I won't know how to stop." My heartbeat stuttered. "Then don't stop." Her lips parted, surprise, want, fear, and for a moment she looked young, not in age but in hope. She leaned in, slowly, like she wanted to give me time to change my mind. I didn't. Her lips touched mine, gentle, searching, terrified, and in an instant the world fell away. It didn't feel like a beginning. It felt like something that had been waiting too long. Then a knock at the door. She froze. Her hand slipped from mine. Her eyes begged me not to speak. And before I could breathe, she whispered, barely audible, "Don't say you were here." The knock came again, heavier this time. She pulled away so fast it felt like cold air replaced her warmth. I stepped back instinctively, though every part of me wanted to stay close. She smoothed her hair, steadied her breath, then opened the door just enough to speak through it. A man's voice answered, polite, familiar, ordinary. He was just asking about something she'd promised to finish tomorrow. Nothing dramatic. Nothing threatening. But it reminded me that she had a life before I walked in, and a reputation to protect long after I walked out. When she shut the door again, she didn't face me right away. She rested both hands on the wood like she needed something solid to hold on to. "You shouldn't come here so often," she said quietly. I swallowed. "Do you want me to stop?" She let out a very soft laugh, not amusement, more like disbelief. "That's the problem." She turned around, finally meeting my eyes. I want things I shouldn't want anymore. There was a weight behind that sentence, a history I'd never asked her to share, and she never volunteered. But something in her expression, tired but still fighting, made me ask, almost without thinking, "Did someone make you feel like wanting things was wrong?" Her expression flickered. For a second I thought she wouldn't answer. "My ex-husband didn't like intensity," she said. "He liked convenience. No mess, no unpredictability, no needing each other too much." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. She kept speaking, maybe because silence with me felt safer than silence with herself. "Young men remind me of everything he hated about me. Emotion. Appetite. Being noticed." She looked down. "And I remind men your age of mistakes waiting to happen." "That's not what you remind me of," I said too fast. She stepped closer, just enough to test me. "Then what do I remind you of?" I didn't answer. I couldn't, not without confessing something I didn't know how to name yet. She searched my face for it anyway. The room felt too small again. She took a shallow breath, and I felt it against my neck. She was that close. Her hand lifted, hesitated in the air, then settled lightly on my shoulder. Not possessive. Not intentional. Just wanting. Her thumb brushed the fabric of my shirt, slow, almost lost in thought. "You don't understand what people would say," she whispered. "They'd think I was using you. Or you were using me. Nobody would believe it's just real." I didn't hide the way I looked at her, really looked at her. At the soft lines by her eyes, the curve of her mouth, the quiet storm under her restraint. She noticed. She tried not to. "You can stop staring," she murmured. "I tried," I said. A breath, hers, caught between us. She let her hand fall from my shoulder like it burned her to keep it there. She stepped back one pace, then another, but her eyes didn't move. "You're too young to understand consequences," she whispered. "And you're too alive to pretend you don't feel anything," I answered. Silence thickened, not rejection, not surrender, something in between. She turned away like she needed distance to breathe, pretending to arrange something on the table. It gave me a moment to notice every detail I wasn't supposed to, the tension in her back, the shake in her fingers, the way she lingered even while retreating. "I don't want to lose myself again," she said. "You won't," I answered. "Not with me." She didn't respond. But she didn't ask me to leave. Instead, she reached for a mug on a high shelf and couldn't quite get it. I moved behind her, not touching her, just close enough that she could feel me there. She didn't step away. She let me take the mug down, my arm brushing her shoulder. The contact was small. Barely anything. She closed her eyes. "See?" she whispered. "This is how it starts." No kiss. No dramatic embrace. Just her hand reaching, slowly, without looking, resting on mine, her fingers curling for the briefest second before letting go. A connection too soft to deny. Too dangerous to name. And neither of us moved. The next time I saw her, it wasn't planned. It wasn't supposed to happen at all. She was sitting alone at the cafe near campus, not her usual place, not a place where she would expect to run into anyone who knew her, or me. She looked different outside her home, not guarded, not composed, just tired in a way that made her beauty sharper, not weaker. She saw me before I reached her table, and for a moment she froze, like she was choosing between pretending not to notice or giving in. She didn't wave me over. I sat down anyway. "You shouldn't," she said, but she didn't stand, didn't walk away, didn't look at the door. "They'll think you're my..." She stopped herself. "Tutor. Mother's friend. Something harmless." She made it sound practical, but her foot brushed mine under the table, just once, not enough to call it an accident. I felt it like electricity. "You're risking more than I am," I said. She shook her head. "You're young. People will forgive you. I won't get that luxury." She tried to smile, but her eyes gave her away. She stirred her coffee even though she wasn't adding anything, the spoon tapping the cup too softly to matter. Nervous. Careful. The bell over the cafe door jingled. We both glanced up. My friend walked in. Her instinct was immediate. She shifted back in her chair, straightened her blouse, angled her body away from mine. My heart hammered. My friend spotted me and started walking over. Act normal, she whispered, eyes tense but not angry, afraid. He reached the table, grinning. Didn't know you were meeting anyone. Before I could answer, she spoke, calm, practiced, like she'd rehearsed it for a life she never thought she'd live. I'm his professor. My friend blinked once, bought it immediately. Oh, wow. Sorry to interrupt. You two look, deep in conversation. We were, she said. No hesitation. Perfect lie. He left after a minute, nothing dramatic. But when the door closed behind him, she let out a breath that sounded like she'd been holding it her whole life. See? She whispered. This is what I mean. One misunderstanding, and everything breaks. I reached across the table. I didn't touch her, not yet, but she didn't pull her hand back. Our fingers hovered close enough that I could feel her warmth. You don't have to protect me from you, I said. I do, she answered. Because I know what it feels like when the world laughs at you for wanting the wrong things. Her voice cracked on the word wrong. She looked away fast, blinking hard. I hated that she'd ever been made to feel that. I moved my chair closer, not enough to be obvious from across the cafe, but enough that she could feel me breathing when I spoke. You're not the wrong thing. She closed her eyes like the sentence hurt. Her hand lifted, not to touch me, just to hover near my face, as if she wanted to memorize me without letting herself. If I kiss you here, she whispered, I'll lose everything. I'm right here, I whispered back. She leaned in, not enough to touch, but close enough that I tasted the air between us shifting. Her lips were inches from mine. One more breath and we would cross a line no one could erase. Then she stopped. Not because she didn't want it, but because she wanted it too much. Her forehead touched mine instead, soft, desperate, trembling with restraint. No kiss. No words. Just the weight of everything we couldn't do and everything we already had. People talked around us. Baristas clattered cups. Music played. And we sat there, pretending nothing was happening while both of us knew everything had. When she finally pulled back, it wasn't rejection. It was surrender disguised as distance. We can't keep doing this, she said. But her hand stayed on mine. And neither of us let go. She didn't answer my texts for 2 days. Not a long time for most people, but long enough for someone who had once whispered into my mouth that she didn't know how to stop wanting me. By the 3rd day, I went to her house. I told myself it was just to check on her, to make sure she was okay, to return a book she'd lent me, any excuse that let me pretend I wasn't losing my mind. She opened the door fast, like she'd been pacing behind it. You can't keep showing up here, she said, but she didn't step aside to block me. She didn't close the door. She didn't tell me to leave. I walked in without waiting for permission. The quiet inside the house felt different this time, not peaceful, not warm, tense. Like every corner remembered me. She stood with her arms crossed, holding herself together. You think this is easy for me? She asked. I shook my head. I think you're trying to disappear again. That hit her harder than anything else I'd said. She looked away, jaw tight. I told myself it would fade if I stopped seeing you. It didn't, I said. No, she whispered. It got worse. She turned sharply, moving to the living room like she needed space. I followed. She stopped near the window, back to me, breathing unevenly. You're young, she said. And I'm terrified that you don't understand what this would cost me. People my age, we don't get to want things without consequences. I stepped closer. Not touching, not yet, close enough that she could feel the heat of me. You think I don't understand consequences? My voice shook more than I wanted it to. Every time I see you, I feel like I've already chosen you. That feels like a consequence. She didn't move, didn't speak. Her shoulders rose and fell with a shaky breath. When I reached to brush her hair back from her face, she didn't stop me. She closed her eyes, leaning, just slightly, into my touch. Don't do that, she whispered. Why? Because I want to melt into you, she said, voice breaking. And I can't afford to. I turned her gently by the shoulders, and she didn't resist. She looked up at me, not guarded, not poised, undone. Completely undone. This shouldn't be happening, she breathed. It already is. She shook her head once, but her hand lifted and pressed flat against my chest, like she needed to feel something solid. I could feel her pulse through her fingertips. You don't get jealous yet, she said suddenly, voice low, raw. But you will. When someone assumes I'm your aunt. When someone thinks you settled. When they whisper that you could have someone younger, someone easier, someone ordinary. Her voice cracked on that last word, ordinary. Like she'd spent years pretending she didn't care about being replaced. I don't want someone easier, I said. I want you. It came out fast, reckless, irreversible. Her breath caught like the sentence knocked something loose inside her. All this time, she whispered, I was afraid you'd get over me. I never thought to fear that you wouldn't. She moved closer, not thinking, not planning, her forehead near my lips, her fingers curling into my shirt. It was the closest we had ever been without kissing. If I kiss you now, she said, voice trembling, it won't be a mistake. It'll be a choice. Then choose, I breathed. Her hand slid up, slow, deliberate, to the back of my neck. My arm wrapped around her waist without hesitation. Her lips hovered a breath away from mine, no turning back, no pretending after this. She leaned in, and then the front door handle rattled. Someone trying to come in. She went rigid in my arms. A voice called from outside. Hey! Are you home? I need to talk to you. It's urgent. She didn't move. I didn't let go. Our lips still inches apart, hearts pounding into each other, both of us frozen on the edge of a choice that would change everything. The front door never opened, the handle rattled once more, then footsteps retreated down the porch. Whoever it was must have realized she wasn't coming, or didn't want to force their way in. But the damage was already done. She slowly pulled back from me, inch by inch, like someone rewinding a scene they desperately didn't want to undo. When she finally stepped out of my arms, her body felt colder without mine against it. I can't do this, she whispered. You already are. She shook her head, running her hands through her hair like she was trying to erase the last few minutes. But her face stayed flushed, her lips still parted, her breathing still shaky. Her body was betraying everything her words tried to build. You need to go, she said. I didn't move. Tell me why. If you stay, I'll choose you, she said, soft, broken. And if I choose you, there's no taking it back. Her voice wasn't fear of me, it was fear of herself, of the things she might give up without hesitation. I swallowed hard. Do you want to choose me? Her jaw tightened. She didn't answer. That silence, it wasn't rejection. It was confession. Before I could reach for her again, she turned away, grabbing her phone off the coffee table. The screen lit up, and that's when everything shifted. 30 missed messages. Same name. Same contact photo. Her ex. She didn't hide the screen fast enough for me not to see. He's been calling you, I said quietly. She froze, phone clutched in her hand. It's nothing. It doesn't look like nothing. Her shoulders tensed, not guilt, panic. He's not calling because he wants me. He's calling because he hates not being the one who left. So he wants control. She didn't deny it. I stepped closer, not accusing, not angry, just needing the truth. Are you thinking of going back? Her breath hitched, not the sound of a woman deciding, but a woman terrified of being misunderstood. No, she said. I'm afraid he'll find out about you. I'm afraid he'll use you to humiliate me. My jaw clenched. I hadn't expected that. You've been ignoring me because of him? Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. Because of what he'll do when he figures out it's you. A new truth hit me like cold water. This wasn't about age, reputation, or morality. It was fear of being hurt again. Fear of someone taking what mattered most to her just to prove he still could. You think I'm something he can break? I said quietly. No. She looked up, voice shaking. You're something he can break me with. That landed between us like thunder. She brushed past me as she walked toward the kitchen, but her hand grazed mine, not by accident, not fully intentional, just an unspoken apology her words couldn't manage. I followed. You should have told me. And risk you running toward me instead of away from me? She said. I couldn't survive that kind of hope. Her vulnerability knocked the air out of my chest. I stepped behind her, close enough for her back to feel the heat of me. Let him call, I murmured. Let him scream, beg, curse. I'm not leaving. Her breathing shook. You don't understand what he's capable of. I don't care. You will. I turned her around gently, forcing her to look at me. You're not his to lose anymore. She closed her eyes, and for once she didn't pull away. She rested her forehead against my collarbone, fingers gripping the front of my shirt like she finally let herself need something. I'm tired of running from what I want, she whispered. My hand slid up her back, slow, reassuring. Then stop running. She exhaled shakily, not surrendering, not fighting, choosing. We meet tomorrow, she said. Not here. Not somewhere he expects. Somewhere we don't have to be afraid. Her voice trembled, but the decision didn't. Once we take that step, she added, we can't pretend anymore. She looked up at me, eyes full of fear, longing, and something deeper. Tomorrow wasn't a date. It was the point of no return. They chose a place with no history, a quiet park outside the city, where no one knew them, where nothing could remind her of what she'd already survived. She was already there when I arrived, sitting on a bench by the lake, hands buried in the sleeves of her coat, body drawn tight like she'd spent the last hour fighting herself. She didn't look up when I approached, not until I sat beside her, close enough for my knee to brush hers. You came, she whispered. I told you I would. She nodded once, then laughed quietly, not happy, not sad, just overwhelmed. I didn't think I'd actually let you show up. I didn't touch her. I didn't have to. The tension between us had weight, a gravity either of us could ignore. Wind stirred her hair across her face, and she tucked it behind her ear with a hand that shook more than she wanted me to notice. There's still time to walk away, she said. Do you want that? Her breath stuttered. I want that. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, staring out at the water with her, giving her space, giving her time. I'm not here because you're older, I said. Or because it's complicated. I'm here because it's you. She looked at me then, really looked, and something in her body softened, as if she'd been bracing for a blow that never landed. You don't know what loving me looks like, she whispered. It's not pretty. It's messy. I get scared, I pull away, I ruin things before they can ruin me. Then ruin me too, I said. Just don't disappear. Her eyes burned, not with sadness, with recognition. She turned her body fully toward me, knees brushing mine, breath warm against my mouth though we still hadn't touched. You're too young to talk like that, she murmured. And you're too alive to pretend you don't feel this, I answered. The space between us vanished by degrees, her hand rising slowly to my jaw, my fingers sliding around her wrist, both of us trembling. Her thumb brushed my lower lip, not a kiss yet, just an unbearable promise. If I choose you, she whispered, I can't love you halfway. I won't survive losing someone twice. You're not going to lose me. She shook her head, eyes brimming but steady. Say that again in 5 years. I'll say it every year if that's what it takes. That broke something inside her, not in a painful way, but in a way that let her finally stop fighting herself. She leaned in first, stopping just shy of my lips, giving me a single second to run, and I didn't. I cupped her face gently. She exhaled into my mouth. And then we kissed. Not cautious. Not experimental. Like two people who finally stopped choosing fear over wanting. Her hands fisted in my coat, pulling me closer. Mine slid to the back of her neck, holding her like she was something I'd already lost once and refused to lose again. When she finally pulled back, she didn't look away. She didn't apologize. She rested her forehead on mine, breathing hard. "I'm choosing you," she said. "And I'm not pretending it's safe. And I'm staying," I whispered. "Even when it isn't." She closed her eyes, not to escape, but to let the relief sink in. No more running. No more almosts. No more pretending. For the first time, they weren't fighting each other. They were fighting for each other. Morning light crept through her curtains, soft and familiar, as though the room already knew what had changed between us. We sat on the couch in quiet stillness, her hand in mine, not gripping, not claiming, just holding. Like she finally allowed herself to want something without apologizing for it. For the first time, either of us spoke to fill the silence. There was nothing to hide from anymore. "I keep thinking you'll wake up one day and realize you deserve someone who fits," she whispered, eyes fixed on our intertwined fingers. I shook my head slowly. I already tried fitting with everyone else. None of them ever felt like home. Her breath trembled, not uncertain, just overwhelmed. She leaned back slightly so she could look at me fully, like she wanted to memorize the expression on my face. There was no fear left in her eyes, just softness, and something that finally looked like peace. "I spent years deciding," she murmured. "Deciding who I was allowed to love, who I was allowed to be. I didn't think I'd ever get to choose for myself again." I slid closer, my knee brushing hers, and that tiny contact grounded us both. "You didn't choose wrong." She gave a quiet laugh, more like an exhale. "You're too young to know that." "Maybe," I said. "But I'm old enough to know what I feel." Her shoulders relaxed, like she'd been waiting to hear those words without admitting it. We didn't kiss right away, maybe because either of us needed proof anymore. Instead, she moved closer until our foreheads touched, her hands resting on my chest, my arms circling around her waist. The moment settled around us like something sacred, slow, genuine, and inevitable. "I was afraid of what people would think," she whispered against my skin. "I was afraid of losing you," I admitted. She pulled back only enough to see my face again. "We're allowed to stop running now." I nodded, and in that quiet agreement our last wall crumbled. Her lips met mine, not rushed, not hungry, but deep with relief. A kiss that didn't ask anything, didn't apologize for anything. A kiss that said we made it through the storm. When we finally pulled apart, she rested her head on my shoulder, and I wrapped my arm around her as though it had always belonged there. The world outside hadn't changed. The age gap still existed, people might still talk, life would still be messy, but none of it felt like danger anymore. She weaved her fingers through mine again and spoke so softly I almost missed it. "We don't have to be perfect. We just have to be real." "And we are," I said. We stayed like that, breathing in sync, hearts no longer racing from fear but from something steadier, warmer. For the first time, nothing felt temporary. Nothing felt fragile. What we had wasn't a secret anymore. It was a choice.